chasing the rabbit so you don't have to. Prepper Guy and Big D have joined forces to dig into the issues. Here they are, the two Krazy Guys.
Take two.
All right, welcome to another broadcast episode of the Two Krazy Guys. And we'd like to welcome all of you out there listening to us on KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. My name is Donald Lowry, a.k.a. Big D, and on the other side is my partner in crime, Mark Boyle, a.k.a. Prepper Guy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great today. We were just talking about what are we going to talk about, and there's never a shortage of things to talk about. And I've learned from some comments on YouTube that I should not use the Lord's name in vain anymore. which I hadn't done, but and after explaining to the gentleman that he understood that I hadn't, but it was good to get a comment from somebody saying, hey, I like watching your show, refrain from doing that.
Yeah, so, man.
Yeah, it was cool. We walked away friends.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you never know. You just never know who's out there listening, and that's proof in the pudding that sometimes we may say something that we know what we're meaning, but maybe not everybody else knows what we're trying to refer to. And so the point of the show is not to come off offending anybody, but it's to kind of chase issues down the hole and, try to find some kind of an outcome to the issue. And Lord knows there's a lot of issues going on right now, Mark.
Yes, and I did a podcast. Yay, good for me. For Prepper Guy, because I'm always slacking in that department. And I do in my podcast swear a little bit more than I should probably, but we are at war in this country, and we have enemies in the Senate, in Congress. It's the people we have elected that are doing more damage to our country. And I said, we're not going to be able to have this touchy-feely war zone. People do swear, get angry, get passionate, and I don't really apologize for that too often, because we have some serious enemies. You look at the Republican Party now, wants to keep this investigation going on Russia, and maybe it's just to get all the cards on the table and say, okay, we've done our due diligence. But I think it's a never Trumper. Out there.
I think it's the Rhino Republicans showing their true colors.
Yes,
But here's the thing. Never in my life have I ever witnessed. I mean, Donald Trump was duly and legally elected president of this country. Okay. And every day since then, every single solitary day since his election, it has been one thing after the other, and it's been a nonstop slaughter after the man. And the very people who are trying to slaughter him are the very ones who are full of garbage.
Right.
Ocasio-Cortez, she's out there talking about campaign finances. And look, she's in trouble for campaign finance issues. You got the Democrats talking about how Donald Trump hates women and he's a womanizer and all because of a tape that was leaked just a few days before the election. But look who they've got. Now, he hasn't really come out and announced, but I look for him to any day now. Look at Joe Biden. Creepy Uncle Joe Biden, Mr. Touchy-Feely himself.
Right.
But that's okay because Joe's a Democrat. And, look how Bill Clinton disgraced our country.
Oh, God.
And that was okay. Nobody cared about what Bill Clinton did with his Willie, but let Donald Trump say or do something, and oh man, the whole world's going to come to an end.
Well, yeah, and if you analyze that leaked, we'll use air quotes, leaked, tape of Trump, what he was saying was, when you're famous, women throw themselves at you. Right. He wasn't saying that he was being a perv like Joe Biden, who actually touches and gets really handsy.
Smelling hair.
Yeah. So there was a big difference in just saying something in locker room talk and actually doing it on national TV.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And then look at Hollywood, talking about income disparity and white privilege, and meanwhile they're paying off to colleges to get their kids into classes they don't deserve and into sports they don't deserve to be in.
Exactly.
And so it's such hypocrisy. But we've all learned that. I mean, if you've been paying attention as you've gone around the block a few times in life, it's the person that makes the accusation that's usually the one guilty of it.
Exactly. That's a true statement. I remember that in school.
Yeah.
When the kids, that run around bullying other kids in school, talking about the other kid's family. They're the ones that usually have the issues at home.
Right.
And so, blah, 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 run it tongue. Let's try that again. The hypocrisy of the left is, it's just unbelievable to me how, and it's like they get a pass every time. Donald Trump is, I mean, this whole thing with the Mueller investigation isn't satisfying. Remember now, Nancy Pelosi, back in what was it, I think 2017, said that we must accept Mueller's investigation results no matter what.
No matter
And
what.
now, here we are in what, 2019? Oh, they're not good enough for the Democrats.
No, because it didn't go in their favor. And Trump has been basically fighting an uphill battle since day one.
Yeah, man.
And you got to give the man credit, no matter what party he's in. He's pushing the car uphill, and no one is helping him, which is
Not a
typical
soul.
in America. But then you got all the media throwing stuff in front of the car and trying to help him push it downhill.
Well,
And
actually, you got Mike Pence beside him pushing. So it's the two of them. But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
get your point.
But
But
he's
they're by
taking the
themselves.
heat.
Yeah, it's all by themselves. He's a lone guy, a lone wolf, and he's trying really hard to do the right thing. And every time he tries to do something right, the Democrats have to throw a curveball at him.
And
I've never witnessed anything in my life. So, I mean, we talked about this. I think Terry Cass brought up the question is to, are they doing it on purpose or do they just not know they're doing it? And the answer is they are doing it on purpose. They are deliberately trying to destroy this country.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you hate to admit it as an American, but
Yeah,
that's why we say there is a war going on. That's why Alex Jones says there's a war going on for your mind. It's all these fronts. And I guess as most Americans are just too busy or too thankful to have a job now, thank you, Trump,
right.
to get into the details of just what's going on, and knowing your enemy and how they're hurting us,
Yeah,
and
exactly. I think I saw a thing today, a headline today where it said that Trump or that the unemployment rate is at a record low right now.
right. Yeah, how can you argue
Or
about that?
something about jobs are at a record high, our GDP is up there. It's just remember this, shovel ready jobs weren't as shovel ready as we thought they were. Remember Barack Obama with the shovel ready jobs, we've
Yeah,
got all these shovel ready jobs. And then after he was elected and all this other stuff, they asked him about it. And he was like, well, shovel ready wasn't as shovel ready as we thought. And then they all laughed about it.
right. And the guy who was it, the libertarian candidate in the last 2020 election, Ron Johnson, was it him that said my dog creates more shovel ready jobs than Obama? And I thought that was
Yeah.
the best way to put it that I had heard in a long time. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it just blows me away how, and he just keeps hammering away at it. There's two things that I want, Mark. There's two things on my wish list that I want.
let me
Number
write this
one is
down.
I want the
Wish
border
list.
to be secured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number one, I want the border secured. And number two, I want him to go after Hillary.
Yes. Now I wonder, and maybe this goes to Terry's question, about the media and everyone. Trump is not as naive or dumb as people act like he is or say he is in the
Oh,
media. And when you watch his debates and his whole campaign, he's very shrewd, and he got a lot of free coverage out of it. And he said everything that his base wanted to hear. And I wonder, is does Trump have a master plan? Because you wonder, why did he pick some of these yahoos in the investigation? Why did he let Sessions do this? And maybe they're blindsiding him from time to time. But I think he really wants this thing to run its course and maybe dig up something on Hillary Clinton.
well, that's a good point, and I'm going to add to that. Maybe the guy knows these guys are fools, and he's letting them show the world who they really are.
And letting them walk into his trap, which, not facetiously or maliciously, but they just stumble right into his game plan most of the time. And all through the election, every one of them just jumped hook, line, and sinker into his fishing net.
Well,
And,
there's an old saying that says, if you give someone enough rope, eventually they will hang themselves.
right.
And
And
so who's to say that that's not exactly what he's doing? Maybe he's just letting it play out so that they can expose who they really are. Because don't think, Mark, don't think for a minute that America, and don't think that those good folks up there in Utah don't see through this garbage from the
oh,
Democrats.
yeah, most people I've met in my life, other than a few, do have the ability to noodle things out once they're shown the whole picture.
Right.
Now, a lot of them don't understand, the science of marketing and screwing with the human mind. But once they put it all together, they can see that it's like, Trump is doing nothing wrong
Yeah.
as a president or as a person. That was one of the main reasons I voted for the man. Having been Mormon myself, I looked at his family and I thought, I've helped raise 6 children. And you don't get that kind of respect out of your young adults or 20, 30-year-olds unless you really do something right. Because
Exactly.
there's thousands and thousands of rich kids out there that hate their parents. These kids all respect him,
That's
and
right.
it's not for the money because they're set for life.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I looked at him and I thought, here's a man that has lived this riotous party life according to the media and
Yeah.
doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs.
Right.
He's a damn teetotaler,
Yeah.
this guy. And his family respects him. Sure, he's been divorced a few times, but he's still in contact with his ex-wife, which is something I can't pull off. And
Right.
and they all get along. You just don't Forrest Gump your way through life that way and get that
Right.
kind of respect from family and your children.
That's right. Hey, listen, we got to take a break.
All righty.
I hear the music playing in my ear, so we're going to have to take a break. We will be back right after this, so don't go away. Let's talk about tea. Not just any tea, getthetea.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff. They have cleansing teas, they have stuff for eye health, stuff from the sea, immune support, stamina and energy, food and protein, and just all kinds of cool stuff. Log on to the website at www.getthetea.com. Log on now. Alrighty, welcome back to the second segment of the Two Crazy Guys. And hey, by the way, that Life Change tea, I have been taking that Life Change tea, and man, that stuff is great. It's strong, but it is really, really good tea, man. And it's not like it's something that you drink, you sit and you have a glass of cold tea or whatever. No, you drink it in proportions. And what the Life Change tea does, as you probably heard during the break, is it's a cleanse. It's an internal cleanse, and man, it's just, I can't say enough. I've actually dropped a couple of pounds since I've been taking it. So, head on over there to Life Change, to getthetea.com and order some Life Change tea today. You won't be sad. You won't be sorry either. But just before the break, or just before the last break, Mark and I were talking about, the amazement that we have, how Trump has been bashed on a daily basis since his election. And I mean, and here's the thing. if you watch the TV, whenever the Democrats are up there, they always keep the camera focused on the candidate. But whenever you see Donald Trump, the cameras are panning the whole room, and there's literally thousands of people in attendance. He draws crowds that are unbelievable. Now, if there was that much hatred against the man, I mean, you got to take things into perspective, because the left, they own the media. They own, the TV, they own Hollywood, they own Disney, they own all that stuff. And so they have all these resources to actually make it look like it's a bigger thing than what it really is. Because if you look at how he draws crowds, man, if he was as bad as they say, he wouldn't be drawing those kinds of crowds.
No, he wouldn't. And if his approval ratings among his supporters were supposedly going down, he wouldn't be selling out. Well, he doesn't sell them out because you just go in for free, but he's packing them stadiums. And if you ever watch behind the scenes when they make a movie and stuff, you'll see this big crowd of people, and it really is just about 30, 40 people in front of the camera, because they're only showing you that little viewport.
Right.
And then they put in all the sound effects. So don't think that the media and Hollywood can't manipulate what you see, like we talked about, like David Copperfield making the Empire State Building disappear.
Right.
I've checked. I mean, since I made that comment, it's
still there. Yeah.
So, you get deceived, and that's why when I made a comment, I don't know if it was in one of our shows or one of the podcasts, that we're at war, and we're really like the peasants of old. We got pitchforks and rocks, and the media has tanks and B-1 bombers, because when you look at the battle and how it's being waged, their weapons are the media.
Right.
And they're showing us all this stuff. And if you're not paying attention and you're not kind of doing a little due diligence, like you just said, if his ratings were so bad, why is he packing that in? If you can't think that way, then you might start believing that, well, Trump's losing his edge. What they said on NBC is right. And, so you really have to be vigilant in the information you perceive and take in.
Since we're on that subject of being vigilant, I implore you, those of you listening to me today, I implore you to use caution to the wind to all of the polls that you're going to see, because remember, they're the same polls that told us that Donald Trump could never beat Hillary Clinton. You're going to see the Democrats trying to lie, cheat, and steal any way they can to steal this election. I assure you, people, you are going to witness an election of proportional events this time around. You will probably never see another election like the one we're about to witness here in 2020. I'm telling you, folks, be vigilant, because they are going to stop at nothing. This is so important to them that they change us into a democracy. And it is so important. Look, you hear us talk about this all the time. This election's the most important election of your life. This election's the most important election of your life. But I'm telling you, folks, the election in 2020 is going to determine whether the United States of America stays a constitutional republic or transform into a functioning democracy. I assure you, people, this is going to be the election of your lifetime. And you're going to witness proportional types of crookery, if you will, for lack of a better word.
Shenanigans.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's so true. And I think Reagan during the second term was a landslide. And I think, didn't he win all the electoral votes?
I don't remember. I don't remember, Mark. Truthfully,
it was some kind of record-breaking event where you got not only most 90% of the popular vote, but all the electoral vote. And yet, just before that, they were doing the same thing to Reagan. He was a cowboy. Yeah. He was going to take us to nuclear war with Russia, all this stuff. And that's why I still continue to have faith and hope in the American people, because we're thinkers. We might not always be out there talking or defending our point, but we understand our point. And when it comes down to the election, we're just like, yeah, that was really great. And then they go and vote for Trump or Reagan, and so we shall see. I don't like seeing the Republican Party turn against and eat their own, because he's their president. And,
Yes.
and the RNC has to support him. But these other Yahoo politicians out there, you can't believe them. They're the same ones that have been saying for years, elect me and I'll fix this problem.
Yes.
And the problems have not been fixed.
Right.
You're an Arizona, raised boy. You're from West by God, Virginia, but being young and in Arizona, we have seen this border issue, since we were kids.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed. The senators or the Congress will fly down there. They'll waste a bunch of our tax dollars flying around in Black Hawk helicopters, looking at the border as if that helps the problem. And then they'll have a big barbecue. And then they'll go back to Washington and continue to kick the can down the road.
Well, the only difference, I believe, is that we have actually a lot more people coming now than we did back then.
Yes.
Tons more people flooding. I mean, I saw a thing today where they were talking about El Paso, 600 a day now. They're getting ready. They're kind of crumbling. They're in crumbling mode. They're buckling under the pressure of all of these migrants coming in. And I'm telling you, man, if we don't put a stop to it, boy, are we going to be in big trouble. We are going to be, this country is going to fall to its knees. And all this other stuff about the avocado shortage and all this other stuff. Look, America is the third largest producers of avocados in the world.
Right.
I don't think we have to worry about a shortage.
What they meant was no one would pick them. But you know what? Necessity is the mother of invention, and you give them big avocado farmers, one season without enough labor to pick them, and they will invent machines that'll do it. And next year, they won't need any humans to pick their avocados, because we're not going to sit around and let crops go bad on the trees.
No.
And so we'll get through it.
Well, they said that about potatoes. Go on YouTube and query up potato combines. They did it. Look how they harvest nuts, walnuts, and all this other stuff. They have these machines, man, that just, and that's the other thing too is. So I hear a lot of people talking about the machines are replacing the people, but whatever happened to skilled labor? Because these guys, these people, and I'm not trying to insult anybody if you're listening, but I want to get this message across. You've got individuals that can't even count proper change. They have to have the machine tell them how to do it. Right. And they're screaming that the company needs to pay them $20 an hour, and the company says, you know what, we'll just hire a machine that can do it right.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what's going on. And I remember, look, guys, this all goes back to the education system. We're dumbing ourselves down. We're dumbing down America. It used to be at one time in America, there was skilled labor abound, now, crud, man. You can't even get someone to tell you the right change that they owe you when you go order a Big Mac or something.
Or hand them, 6 cents because it's, 5.06 and you give them a 10, 6 cents, and they just look at it like,
what the heck am I supposed to do with this?
And now the cash registers, they can type in, $20, 6 cents, and it'll tell them, give the guy back $15.
That's exactly. It used to be, and I'm a firm believer. Look, man, if I'm going to pay you $20 an hour, then by God, you better produce $20 an hour worth of labor.
Right. Or you're out of here. Well, and that's the thing, they talk about these machines doing away with, all these jobs, but we're talking about non-skilled labor jobs.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's not going to put, people like you or me out of business, because if I could buy a machine that would lay carpet, I would have 4 of them. but
Yeah.
they don't exist. And when there's the people element that actually have to make cognitive decisions like you do and stuff, and you don't get those people coming across the border. They're pickers.
Exactly.
And so, just like the cotton gin did away with, all the labor it took, just like the machines that just shake the hell out of a pecan or a tree that just all the fruit that's ripe comes off of it. Eventually, a few of these things where there's, the border shuts down and these farmers will spend the extra money to buy a new machine. They love buying
Sure.
machines anyway. God,
Yeah.
a
I know.
combine is not cheap, but it does its job where people used to go out and pick the corn.
Right.
So
And like you said, you're exactly right. I know a guy that he's a welder. And so the first time I actually saw him weld something, I was just like, wow, man, I was blown away. This guy can lay a bead that would blow your mind. And, just unbelievable. And this is what we're talking about, skilled labor. This is not what we're the jobs that we're losing. We're not losing, the marketers that are selling the crops. We're losing the people that are picking the crops, and we're not even losing them because most of them are here on work visas anyway.
right.
So listen, on that thought, we're going to have to take a break.
Yeah, or we might have to fire our producer. Get a machine to do it.
We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
So we were talking just before the break. Welcome back. We were talking about skilled labor, and Mark and I have decided that we're going to fire the producer and hire a robot to do the job.
Yeah. I mean, I've never met the guy, so I wouldn't feel bad if he lost his job anyway.
So yeah, anyway, that's what we're kind of talking about. They're making it out to sound like it's a crisis if we shut down the border. If we secure the border, America is going to be in peril. America is going to be doomed. Let me tell you something, people. America's been fine just on its own all these years without this influx of illegals coming across the border. And now all of a sudden, it's a crisis that, they're not even saying it's a humanitarian issue anymore, Mark. They're just saying it's going to be a crisis.
Right. Yeah. And I have to agree with all of the talking points on both sides. The Republicans want the cheap labor and
Yep.
the Democrats want the votes.
Right.
And we are in the middle going, I just want my country.
Right.
I have no problem with people coming over here. In fact, I wish all 15 million of them would buy a gun and go home and overthrow their country.
Amen, brother.
Because a 15 million man army would just start walking to Mexico and it would be over before it started.
Well, that's kind of what I don't know, man. I'm almost starting to wonder if that's where we're headed. Because I just see, grassroots America. Look, man, you can mess with people up to a certain point, and then after that certain point, man, people start getting upset and they just start. Look, this is like the fly buzzing around you all day, and eventually you get tired of it. You pick up the fly swatter and you swat the fly.
Right. And then you wonder why you didn't do that 2 hours ago. Because it was that easy. So, what was I tormenting myself over all this time?
I don't know why I use that theory, but that's kind of the way it is, And I think grassroots America is really starting to have its fill with this whole, Democrat thing and this whole influx of illegals and the whole. I just really think that, Mark, there's two things that I want. There's two things. Number one, I want a secured border, and number two, I want them to go after Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Because here's why. I know that sounds, and I know, and I think our listeners are, I think they know, I think they get it, that if we go after Hillary, man, that's going to open up a can of worms like no one's ever seen. Right. And I think what will happen is a lot of the corruption that is in our political system now will be taken down and it will go away. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker, Joe Biden, all of the Barack Obama, all of them. I guarantee you, ABC, NBC, CBS, they're all involved. I guarantee you, once they start pulling that rabbit out of the hole and they start going down that rabbit hole, man, you are going to see a can of worms like you've never seen. And I think if we could just do that, take that one person, I think you will see a lot of the corruption that's going on in this country go away.
I think if Trump wants to drain the swamp, the best way to do it is to pull the plug, and the Clintons are the stopper.
Yeah,
that would help drain that swamp. I'm kind of picturing them just being a couple plugs stopping up the works, but because she's already gave them the game plan. If I go down, everyone goes down. That right. To me, if I was Trump, would be the checkered flag. It's like, awesome, let's go.
I just don't understand why it's not happening, Mark.
I guess she has a lot of power. The Clintons do, not so much her. Not over Trump, but all the people he needs to have do it. I guess, and all of these weak, spineless, I won't use that other word, liberals and rhinos that just, they know that they're on the chopping block the minute that happens, I think.
Yeah, that's why it's been a relentless assault against Donald Trump since day one, because they know if they let up on that assault, he's going to get off the offensive and go on get off the defense and go on the offense. And then he's going to march down that football field and take them out like there's no yesterday, man.
Right. Yeah. And I maybe that's in store for 2020. I don't know.
I hope so.
Because, it is our country, and I hate to keep hammering on that, but, we have to realize that there are enemies, they're within, and
yes,
we as American citizens do not have a hope in heck if our leaders, the good ones, don't stand up and start doing something, because then otherwise we're on our own, and we just don't. Unless the economy totally collapsed, then sure, we'd go to Washington and just burn it down for something to do. But right now, we're all busy, and you just need to pick one issue and maybe learn about it. Just like people read the Bible, there's, I don't know how many 100,000 words there are in it, and yet they'll read that every day. But the Constitution is so simple. I mean, it's stupid simple.
Yeah.
And learn what we have to work with. What is the equipment we have to fight with? And when you really understand it, you find out we got bigger guns than they do.
Yes.
Basically, yes. It pulls the trigger mechanism out of their gun.
Right.
And we could win it. I just don't know how to get it across to people. I talked to a gentleman the other day, one of our customers, like I do. I talk more than I work.
Uh-huh.
And he was an educated guy. He's 20 some years in the Air Force and stuff. And I had brought up this Electoral College thing, and he's, with his out loud voice, an educated man goes, well, I think it's an outdated principle. He goes, nowadays we have communications, and it worked back then, but we didn't have the ability to communicate like we do nowadays. And I was just shocked. I said, well, first of all, we don't have communications. We have one side of the equation pushed down our throat. But I said, if it worked with no communications, then it works better with communication.
Right.
Why would you want to do away with something that's working good? And if you add something like premium unleaded to the mix, it's going to work even better.
Right.
So the guy, he's a nice enough guy. He's, served his country. I respect that of him, and I didn't, call him out on it. But it's just like, you have people that don't understand the importance of what they're believing.
Right.
And they think they're still honoring their oath, and they're so far away from their oath.
Yeah.
That they couldn't honor it if they tried to.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty sad.
That's what scares me. It's
Yeah.
like good people that want to do something, but when they do it, they're gonna do the wrong thing for the right reason.
Because that's what they've been taught to do.
Right. And how do you break that barrier? How do you get through to people without, the media and reverse brainwashing? But we don't have those tools available to us. We have Fox. We have 10% of Fox, and the rest of it's
that. Yeah. Exactly. You're right. And for those of you that are listening, if you have DirecTV, there's One America News Network that you can check out as well. And I think Newsmax is on Dish, I believe. But yeah, you're right. Like even, what used to be viable reporting media is slipping. And it's just look, man, media news reporting went in the ditch years ago.
Right.
And now, they're promoting what they want you to believe. And trust me, when they want you to believe something, they will hammer it into you until there's no end, because as well as I do, Mark, if you tell somebody something enough, they begin to believe it.
Right. And then if you I learned this one thing somebody told me once that I thought was kind of cute. He goes, everyone likes chocolate cake. He goes, if I offer you a piece of chocolate cake, you'd go, oh, thanks. But if I try to shove it down your throat, then you have a reflex to where you push away.
Right.
And the media, I think, has found a way to just continue to shove it down people's throats. And because our memory is so short, that we forget that just yesterday they were trying to shove cherry pie down our throat, and now it's chocolate cake, and it'll be carrot cake next week.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can hardly avoid it. Like we said the last show, our children watch us all the time, if you have young children. And if you're watching Fox News because you care a little bit, and they see that, all of the commentators and the reporters are saying democracy, democracy, democracy. In their head, they're going to grow up thinking, well, my parents watched this show. They respected Tucker Carlson. He called it a democracy. It must be a democracy. If they have a question and ask their teacher, the answer they're going to get in school.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to be, they're told every day that we live in a democracy.
Right. So it's an uphill battle on the smallest front, even because, we're only a few generations away from, tyranny, I guess, as they say. I got my neighbor working on his fence. Ain't that great?
Isn't it nice? You can sit there and watch them.
I can watch him. I don't know if you can hear him pounding the fence post.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, so all you people in Utah, there's a rancher over there putting up a fence for cattle.
Fences, but I thought fences didn't work, Mark.
Oh, What a racist. I didn't know
Why
the
don't
guy
you-
was a racist.
Why don't you go out there and tell him to take it down?
I'm going to call NBC and CNN and say, look at this racist guy. He's putting what's he got against horses?
Hey, listen, we're right about that time where we're going to need to take our last break of the program. And so stick around because we will come back with more right after this.
We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow.
This tornado just touched down. Well, we can see it from right here. It's ripping up trees. It's ripping up everything in its sight. If you're above ground,
Okay, and welcome back to the last segment of today's program. And again, thank you for listening to us up there in Utah on 540 AM Utah's Talk Authority.
That's where they're all at. All the Patriots are in Utah.
Hey,
Actually, there are quite a contingent of good Patriots in Utah, Oregon,
Yep.
some of those states.
yep,
For now, till
yeah.
the media wears them down, and I'm surprised Texas and Austin has, Austin's kind of like little New York or something. They call it. They're so
I
liberal.
know. Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's like termites. You let a few in, and pretty soon they're eating the foundation of your house.
I love that analogy. It's like me with my fly swatter, right?
That's right.
So listen, we've been talking today about, the relentless attack on Donald Trump, and we've been talking about, skilled labor and, all these other things that go along with it. And, the crisis of avocados. And I remember listening to the media have a heyday when the government was shut down. Every day it was a major crisis, that the country was crippled and it was to its knees and all this other stuff that the media was feeding you, all this other garbage that you've been fed by the media. And it's just amazing to me that, America still standing strong, even after the government shut down, and, America is still standing strong. And like I said, I don't think we're going to see a shortage in avocados, Mark, because most of those people are coming over here on work visas. And so it's not like, look, Donald Trump has actually softened his stance on shutting down the border. I mean, I remember last week he was like, don't mess with me. I'll shut the border down. I mean it. I'll do it. And, now he's softened his stance on it. Yeah, we may do it this week, but hey, man, shut that mother down. Shut it down.
Shut it down. Well, when I was a youngin', my mom always had rentals, and I think I was probably 9 or 10, and that was we'll just tell everybody that was 55 years ago, and we lived in Tucson, so we had back then we called them hobos, and they'd jump off the train, and there was one guy every year he would stop at my mom's and rent one of her apartments. And then every day he would go out and work day labor, and he'd make $5-7 a day. And then he would, get him some food, buy us a bottle of wine or whatever he wanted, pay mom rent, and get up and do it again. And then when it got too hot out, he'd get back on a train and say goodbye and take off to California or somewhere. Now, he was a veteran. He was a white guy, an American that wanted to do those jobs and that day labor. But I wonder what would have been his mindset if he had all this safety nets and free welfare and free bottle of wine a day, free food, free low-income housing. So people were willing to work then because they didn't have handouts, like Benjamin Franklin said. Make them uncomfortable in their poverty so they pull themselves out of it.
Exactly.
And this guy, he had one bad eye, it was all messed up in the war and stuff. He was a veteran and taught me how to play chess and checkers. Just a real salt of the earth, nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of them people that went out and worked every day in the heat for $5, $7. And nowadays, when they say, well, people won't work for do those jobs, it's like, well, probably not, because we're giving them the farm.
Right.
Why
That's
would
exactly right.
Why would you work for that little bit of money when you can make 80,000 a year mooching off the system once you learn
Right.
how to play the game?
And then the Democrats got to raise your taxes and raise them and raise them and raise them so that they can pay for all the free stuff that they're giving to people.
Right, and then turn around and go, these Americans won't pick, lettuce for $15 an hour. It's like, oh, trust me, if you take away all their free stuff, they'll pick lettuce for $10 an hour.
That's right. Yeah.
So we allow them to create this mess, and then they fund the mess, and then they keep perpetrating the mess.
Exactly. They just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. You know, it starts off small at the top and it just keeps gaining momentum, keeps gaining speed, keeps gaining size until it engulfs everything.
Yeah. And, they use that same tired logic, well, the automakers are going to put the carriage business out of business, and all the carriage workers will lose their jobs. It seems to be fine. And when you really think about the government, talking about the shutdown, what do they do for you or me every day? Like I told my brother who's on the city council, he's like, well, the city's going to go bankrupt. And I was like, good. What do you do for me, really? Because I can handle my own garbage. And that's about it. You harass me the rest of the time. So look at the federal government. What do they really do that helps Don Lowry every day? On as big a scale as what our taxes represent. Not much.
Well, they certainly don't. Well, it's funny, Mark, because I can't really come up with anything.
When you think about it, I mean, yeah, you work as a contractor on post, but that's a military thing, and it's an aerostat and stuff like that. But it's city and state that pick up my garbage. That the feds oversee water, make sure that we're drinking clean water. They don't pick me up and take me to school. They don't really. In my day-to-day life, I have no need for a federal officer or agent or program whatsoever. I mean,
I still don't have an answer.
Really? Okay. See, I just thought it was me being pessimistic, but when you look at the thousands of things that the federal government supposedly does, what are they, and how does it really help the average American at all? It's other than welfare, which is their biggest share of the money they take from us, and that's how they lock in their voters. They create an entitlement mentality where these people are dependent on their sugar daddy, Uncle Sam.
Well, I mean, people will say, well, what about Social Security? What about Medicare? Well, there's private insurance. Social Security was never meant to be a sole source of income. It was only supposed to be a supplemental income. And basically, through your work life, you're responsible for creating a retirement for yourself, because if you plan on retiring on Social Security, man, you're never going to make it.
No.
So the government's not really helping anything there.
Well, and what was it? I think it was when Michael Savage, or one of them, he's like, the Board of Education has never educated anyone.
Right.
The Department of Energy has created no energy. When you go down the list, they're just bureaucratic agencies that really throw stuff in our way and hinder progress and momentum instead of helping it. We're on a 20-lane Autobahn, and we are all driving Ferraris, and we have these 20 bureaucrats in front of us driving 10 miles an hour. Hey, you better slow down. You might get hurt. And it's like, if you just get out of the way, America would be just rocking and rolling.
Yeah, man.
But you got this stone wall in front of you that's like, well, slow down.
Yeah, man.
Don't do that. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
So when they shut the government down, that's to your point.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. The lights
no,
still
nothing,
work.
nothing. Yeah, exactly. Nothing changed. Other than, the media every day was making a mountain out of a molehill. And, it's funny because when Obama did it, it was okay.
Oh yeah. Well, because he was, like the second Messiah. The sea levels did not recede. And
The waters did not part. The jobs did not come.
what did he say
America.
during his inauguration?
This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal.
This is the day when global warming stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole thing is, that whole presidency was such a scam anyway. The American people were duped so badly by this guy, this clown, and his posse of fools, if you will. He just duped America, and they got away with it. It was probably the biggest scam that this country has ever seen, and they got away with it. And here he is shoveling money over to the sandbox, in cash, mind you.
Yeah. Not
In
just
cash. And Obama is doing such a wonderful job.
he
I
was
got
going
a
to end the
thrill.
war.
Wait a minute, Mark. I got a thrill up my leg.
Oh yeah, that guy. What was that?
That was Chris Matthews.
Yeah, I knew it was Chris, but I kept thinking Chris Wallace. But yeah,
You gotta
Chris
be
Matthews.
stinking kidding me, man.
Well, and you know what? If people that think that most conservatives didn't like Obama, it wasn't because of his skin color. He
No.
was just a bad president. Because if Thomas Sowell would have been the president, I would have actually asked that they ran him 3 terms, because he's smart. He knows the economy. He's a wise man, So it had nothing to do with skin color. It had to do with IQ.
Exactly.
And so it was, and the media was a perfect example of the tail that wagged the dog.
Yes.
They duped America so well, and
Yes.
now they think they can keep doing it. And I think that the Americans are looking around going, say what you want about Trump. I just got a raise. I just bought a new house. I got a job.
Yeah. I think America sees it more than the media, like I said earlier in the program, the media is trying to make it bigger than it is, and I actually believe that the outrage is actually a lot smaller in size than what they're trying to make it seem. It's only because they have that large platform and that large voice that they can make it seem bigger than it is. And like I said, watch again. Pay attention when you see the Democrats up there. They keep the cameras close and center, so it looks like there's a lot of people there. But when Trump's on, they actually pan the cameras around, and you can see all the people there.
You could see the lot of people.
So
I think the media is just a joke, and eventually it will pan out that people will just go. Like me, I used to be a news junkie. I just can't stand it anymore. I hate people just flat out lying to my face day in, day out, when I know that they're lying. And I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I know they're lying.
Right.
Hey, I wanted to, last week we talked a little bit about getting our listeners to pipe up and let us know what they think. And we should spend the last minute or so just, for one, thanking our listeners. But I would like to hear from them now that we've got a track record of insanity. Maybe they could, shoot us an email. We got plenty of email addresses. I would like to see it on Podbeam, in the comments and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So all right, listen, speaking of time, we're out of it.
Again.
Yeah. So Hey, listen, we're going to have to check out, folks. I mean, we're really going to have to check out because we're out of time. But tune in next week with Mark Boyle, a.k.a. the Prepper Guy, and Big D, Donald Lowry, right here on KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Hey, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch them next time as they dig into the issues. The two crazy guys. Log on to the website at www.contraradionetwork.com.